I have like the biggest question for you today.
Really? Eh? I'm not sure I'm ready for it.
You've heard of being rickrolled. Do you know what that means?
Rick rolled? No,
Yeah.
I can't say I do.
It's when you watch like a video or someone sends you a text and it's a voice message and you're thinking it's going to be them, or you get an Instagram video or a YouTube link and you think it's something else, but then it's a video or the audio of Rick Astley singing Never Gonna Give You Up.
Yeah.
I've been rickrolled way too
Is
many
that a
times.
thing?
It's
Is that
a thing. It's a thing. It's
Come
called
on.
rickrolled.
I feel left out. Honestly. Never gonna
Well,
give you up.
I'm gonna have to rickroll the hell out of you now.
Freak, bring it on. I want to feel like I'm part of the party. Rick Marold.
No, rickrolled. You were rickrolled.
It's so stupid. Who comes up with this shit?
I wish I did, because it's a trend.
Oh my God. I guess I'm not very trendy.
But I'm listening to satellite radio and I am grooving to some 80s tunes and I'm like, I'm loving it. And you ever get those satellite radio where it cuts out just for a second, but it comes back to a different song?
Happened to me today.
The sons of bitches, they rickrolled me today.
Oh no.
Yeah, I'm rocking out to some like Van Halen and it stops mid-song and I'm like, oh. And then all of a sudden it comes on. It's like, never gonna give you up.
I can't believe we're talking about this. This is so stupid.
I'm gonna rickroll the shit out of you now.
Oh my God, bring it on, man. I hate being left out.
This is David Lussell.
Or something of the sort.
Everybody wants a piece of me. I'm a lonesome man making history. They say we're all just raindrops in a stream.
Rick rolled. You and Rick Astley, you guys go way back. Guaranteed.
I have his first album on cassette.
Okay, I won't rickroll you at all throughout this episode, but just pre-warning, it's going to happen. I'm going to be sending it to you a lot
Jesus.
now.
Serious, like, man, I trust you in my life, so like I have to believe you that it's true, but I have a hard time believing that's a thing, man. People
It's a
have
thing.
fuck all to do with their lives. That's crazy.
I wonder the same. When I see these trends, I'm like, wow, that one's hilarious.
Holy
I
man.
don't have time for this.
Holy, you pay the bills.
Exactly.
Shovel your driveway. Mow the lawn, man. Do something with your life. I'm so fucking dumbfounded by this thing that I've already forgotten what it's called. It's Rick something because I know the guy.
Rolled.
Rick rolled. I'm beside myself. Anyway, I guess I got better things to do.
Well, and that's the thing. If you think about it, all these people who have done these trends, these stupid trends, have had time to do stuff. And like, if I found out that was my wife who did that, I don't know if I'd be proud or angry. Which leads me into a bigger question of prenuptial agreements.
Oh, what a segue.
You like that segue? That's not bad.
What
eh?
a segue. Oh my God. Prenups.
Yeah, let's talk about prenups. They're very fun. They're
Wow.
like the least awkward conversation you could ever have.
This is a super lighthearted subject.
Yeah.
Actually, you know what? We're not going to get into any of the weeds today.
Okay.
I don't want to act like a lawyer. I don't want to
No,
act
you're-
like I know all the ins and out and all the legalities of an actual contract. Okay. So let's be straight with that.
I may
But-
pretend I do, but I don't.
Yeah, there you go.
Let's just get that out of
Fake
the
it
way.
till you make it.
That's right. I will give you legal advice that's really not legal advice. I'm kind of like my cousin Vinny.
Yeah, 2 utes. No, listen. Well, so a prenup is when you're married, right? And if it's
Mhm.
pre-marriage, it's called a cohabitation agreement.
Gotcha.
So a couple of facts is if you get a cohabitation agreement signed and you guys agree on something that's fair, and then you end up getting married, that cohab agreement is null and void. You have to get an actual prenup agreement.
Oh, it doesn't just automatically
No.
roll in. Doesn't Rick roll
So it's
itself
two
into it.
different. I have a feeling that fucking Rick Astley's going to be in this whole episode today, which is fine. I love him. But seriously, so Yeah, cohabitation agreement. We see this a lot with second relationships. And of course, with the divorce rate being at pretty much 50%. I'm having this conversation with every client that's getting into a second relationship,
For
right?
sure.
It's a little bit more difficult if you have this chat with someone that is 30 or 35 or 40 that is married to their high school sweetheart, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of weird and awkward to talk about that. But these conversations are weird and awkward, but I tell you, they're very important. And I recommend them to everyone that I talk to because it's not a matter of like trying to like, I don't know, keep your shit to yourself or make sure that your partner doesn't screw you or you want to screw your partner over in advance. Here's how I bring it up to clients. Is you guys have to have some sort of agreement to divide your assets in the event that you guys decide to part ways. And I want you guys to make those decisions and to separate things fairly while you still love each other. So let's say you and I are in business, for example. Okay. Let's keep the sex and the emotions and the cuddling and the spooning out of the equation and having children and all the complicated relationship shit. Okay.
You're talking my language.
We see eye to eye. Yeah. Spooning and sex. Come on. Focus, Darryl. Focus. You and I are in business together and we have a rockin' strip joint, but it's not a bar. It's a coffee shop. A coffee shop strip joint. So you can go see strippers for breakfast.
I can market that.
with your croissant and your latte. Okay. And we're killing it. But all of a sudden, the wheels fall off. Whether it's we have a different vision for how our strip joint is going to go.
Yeah.
I feel that I'm doing more of the work, or you feel like you're doing more of the work. And all of a sudden, it's like, fuck, we got to call her quits.
Mm-hmm.
That is a shareholder agreement, right?
Yes. Yep.
It's a business contract to say, what happens if I become disabled and I can't contribute to the team anymore? What happens if I die? What happens if we start fighting? Well, a cohabitation agreement or a prenup, depending on the status of your relationship, is essentially that. Without the risk of sounding insensitive, it's essentially saying, okay, I love you. Like I'm crazy about you. But reality is, sometimes people change, sometimes circumstances change, and sometimes we decide to part ways. And we want to make sure that if we do part ways, that we're going to divide our assets so that it's done fairly. And the best way and the best time to do it is to do it while you love each other, because you're going to be reasonable and you're going to meet halfway. And you're going to compromise and you're both going to walk away a little bit unhappy.
Yeah.
I had a business colleague of mine one time say, the best deal is when both parties are unhappy. It means it was done fairly.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
So then that avoids the whole, okay, you know, I had an affair and then all of a sudden the other party is like super, super fucking pissed off.
Yeah.
And they're going to do everything because of the resentment, because of revenge, because of everything, just to fuck you over. Right. And the other thing is it could be as simple as someone that's disabled. Right? Like, let's say someone goes through some health issues and all of a sudden they're just not contributing to the relationship. And they both decide to say, listen, like, this isn't going to work out for us, but how is it going to unfold? If you do that before you fight, if you do that before you hate each other, and you do it while you love each other, it's going to be a fair separation of assets.
Now, when you're, let's say, like with some clients and they are in good moods, they love each other, everything's good, they talk about a prenup and they try to clarify the financial expectations of now and the future. How does that play in? Like, how do you play into that?
Well, it's awkward. It's always awkward to have these conversations. Let's be real.
Yeah,
but you know what? Sometimes the most difficult conversations to have are the most important ones.
Always.
Right? Of course, the earlier in the relationship, the easier it is. That's one thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's two major things that you have to consider is the division of assets. And then there's the spousal support payments, right? Which is something that is, you know, often talked about in terms of unfair or whatever. You come into a relationship, what is your expectation? Right? So if you've come together late in life and Mrs. has this rockin' business and you come in and you're a minor, you're both successful because you're both making big coin. Does that mean that you should really enjoy the benefit or reap the benefits of your spouse's business if you've been together for 10 years and she's just killing it?
We see it all the time.
You go to bed at night, you share a bed, kiss each other goodnight, you love each other to death. You deal with the fucking same life situations that every mom and pop has to deal with. When you get up, you go and you mine. Right?
Yeah.
And you're making $150,000 a year or whatever because you're a high producing rock breaker.
Yeah.
And then your wife goes to work and she owns a business and she's killing it and she's making the same 150,000, but her business is growing and it's worth $3 million.
Yeah.
Does that really make you entitled to the growth of her business, right? If you're not contributing to that growth, you're both going to work every day,
Yep.
right? What happens most of the time from experience, again, I'm not preaching the legalities of it. I'm not preaching the actual details of the contract. I want to have an emotional conversation about the importance of this and why we should be having these conversations. There's a 50% divorce rate,
which is
and
huge.
from my experience, most of those divorces happen because of infidelity.
Mhm.
And when infidelity happens, people get really pissed off.
No kidding.
People get resentful. People get vengeful.
Mm-hmm.
And when those circumstances happen, things become unfair because you go after each other's throats.
Exactly.
And I don't think that that's fair.
No,
I
I
think
agree.
that the reasonable thing to do is, Darryl, I love you, man, and I trust you, and I know that you've got my back. So let's come together with a fair plan of attack if shit ever hits the fan and you and I are no longer a thing.
Mm-hmm. It's funny you say that because we see this all the time in the news. And most recently was with Kevin Costner and his wife. I've literally sat over a beer with a few other couples and we were talking about it. His ex-wife, she got awarded like $63,000 a month in spousal support. She did not make any of the movies that he made. Yes, they have children together, but that's just the spousal support. That's nothing else. That's just that. And so when you look at it, it's like she wanted $160,000 a month.
That's fucking absurd. Seriously, that is a perfect example. It's extreme, but that happens to ordinary people.
And we sat at this table with multiple couples and we were all talking about it and how insane it is. And the conversation got heated in a way because I'm like, well, it's partially his fault for not having a clad iron prenup. And I had couples fighting at this table because I was basically playing devil's advocate. It sounds great to talk about these celebrities with these hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Millions, hundreds of millions of dollars in net worth.
Exactly. And it's fun to talk about them and say, oh, yeah, oh, man, he got screwed. But then when you flip it on yourself, you're like, well, did you sign a prenup? Would you sign a prenup? People get their backs up and they're like, fuck no.
She gets screwed too, you know. It's not just a gender thing.
Oh, no. Exactly.
The days of the husband going to work and the wife staying home, like the system is really, really outdated. We need an upgrade.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, what, I got my iPhone 5000 upgrade, but this system doesn't want to change for decades and decades. It's like the days of moms staying home. Can you imagine marrying a woman and saying, you're going to stay the fuck home and you're going to be a housewife?
Yeah, she'd get me fixed.
I respect it if a woman or a man wants to stay home and wants to raise the
100%.
kids and whatever. Like, that's fucking cool. I don't care, man. This is our safe place. No judgment. I don't care.
Yeah.
But if you're with a woman, you say, you're going to stay home, raise the kids, and you're going to cook and you're going to wash dishes and you're going to maintain the house, you would get kicked in the fucking balls, right? So those days are over. We don't live in that era anymore where men and women have their own lives.
Yeah.
Men and women have their own bank accounts. We've talked about this. Like, people have a hard time sharing and kind of like merging their finances. So if you're not willing to have one bank account, share everything and just have a total life together, that means you're keeping shit separate. So like, it's not unusual for us to, even for teachers in that, right? Like, let's say you have a teacher and an OPP officer that are married together. Well, they both have great pensions, Darryl. They both have benefits. Whether they have kids or not, because we did say we're going to leave the kids out of the equation on this one, is people want to protect their asses, right? If we get divorced, I don't want to lose my teacher's pension. I don't want to fucking do that, man, because it's my pension, right? So as simple as that is to just say, you know what, if we split up, you're going to keep your teacher's pension. I'm going to keep my OPP pension. I'm not going to owe you anything in terms of support because you have your own income and you can fend for yourself. And I could fend for myself. And if we're worth $1 million, you're going to walk away with 500,000 and I'm going to walk away with 500,000.
Yeah.
Now, to me, that is fucking fair, man.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, exactly.
So why don't you and I, while we love each other, create a contract to say, well, we understand that relationships fail 50% of the time now. And before you hate my guts because I don't wipe the toilet seat enough, or I leave fucking toothpaste in the sink, or you fuck my best friend, that we put together some sort of contract to say, let's do it while it's fair, because you know what? We're all human. We always
Yep.
talk about this humanizing factors. Like, let's treat each other with some humanity, right? And I've
Exactly.
seen situations with relationships where they just want to jab in there and they want to create and cause
It
as
gets
much
ugly.
pain as possible.
Yep.
Right? Like, I've seen guys nearly live in cardboard boxes because their spouses wanted to live in that house that they built
Yeah.
together. And it's just
Exactly.
creating all sorts of pain on purpose. Life is too short for that stress, man.
no
That
kidding.
kills people.
I know.
So whether you're a teacher at an OPP and you just want to, if shit hits the fan, you want to keep your pension, you're happy to divide assets, you're happy to make things fair. You just don't want to run into years of court and legal costs and stress. And trust me, man, that ages you, right?
Oh, no
Speaking from
kidding.
experience, that shit ages you. So
You look like you're 90.
yeah. Hey, and I still got my arm in a sling. It's just getting real. I'm falling apart, man. No, but seriously, though, is prenuptial agreements and cohabitation agreements are not so frowned upon as they once were, because we live in a different era. And I highly recommend them to pretty much everyone. There's very rare cases where they're not really suited. And it's like that case, like you say, you've been together for 25 years, and your high school sweethearts, your kids are pretty much gone. And,
Yeah.
why? What's it going to change?
It shocks me with the amount of change our society goes through, how many new laws come into pass. I am so surprised that when you go to City Hall to get your marriage license, there's not one of those, just small prenup, fill in the blank, just something to get the ball rolling. Then it's not an awkward conversation. We know this. This would ease our court system up just a little bit if we had a standardized prenup agreement.
100%.
It makes no sense to me why it's not a standardized thing when you want to register to be married. And it doesn't mean you don't love the person.
Dude, that's exactly what I preach to people. You're either going to be happily ever after and you're going to die together, and you're going to travel and you're going to fight and you're going to see beautiful beaches and you're going to whatever, right? You're going to drink good wine together. Or you flip the coin and you guys split up.
Yeah.
Like, split up fairly so that no one has to grieve and mourn this for years and have to suffer unnecessarily. It's not that complicated.
I think the best way that I can put it is, and you can share this with your clients, all you have to say is, never going to give you up. Just sign a prenup.
Oh my God, you rickrolled me.
We'll be right back.
Now that 2024 is here, it's time to take things to the next level. And with the exciting increase to the TFSA limit, now at $7,000, this is great news for your portfolio.
It sounds like 2024 is your year. Start it now. Call René of St. Cyr and Associates.
Never gonna give you up. I'm gonna sign a prenup. And we're back.
Oh my God. Rickrolled. It's
Rickroll.
a thing, guys.
It's a thing.
I checked at the break. It's a real thing. It's so stupid. But honestly, prenuptial agreements and cohabitation agreements should really not be frowned upon, man. And those are conversations that we should be having with relationships. That's my take. We didn't really talk about a whole lot of financial planning today. It was more of the emotional side of this subject, because it is at the forefront of conversations a lot. And I think that it's important that we have those conversations, because I think everyone should have one.
Yeah, definitely.
Never gonna give you up. I'm ready to sign the prenup. We're gonna pitch that.
We're like the new Weird Al.
Yeah, that's right. Except we're weirder and less famous.
If Weird Al is listening, we have a song for you.
What the fuck are you talking about today, my good buddy? We need to lighten this shit up.
I'm going to talk today about the power of the micro-influencer.
Whoa. You're going to be
I
teaching
know.
me something, because this is something I know nothing about. So I'm either going to sit here dumbfounded in silence, or I'm going to be poking away with a lot of questions.
So a micro-influencer is basically somebody online, has a social media presence, but it's a relatively modest following on social media. So for example, their following is typically a few thousand up to 10,000 followers. Unlike mega influencers who have hundreds of thousands or even millions of followers, micro influencers have smaller but often more engaged and niche audiences, which is
Oh, I
really
gotcha.
cool.
Might be more direct engagement too.
Exactly. So that's kind of the first point I want to make is targeting audience engagement on social media. And with a micro influencer, when you find the right one and you decide, I'm going to collaborate with a micro influencer, it's really going to allow your small business or even if you're a larger business to engage at a highly targeted audience.
Is it possible to engage more than one micro influencer?
100%. Definitely. But that's where you have to do the research and you have to find the right micro influencers because their audience is going to be your target market. You want to find somebody who has that niche following that aligns closely with your products or services. And the reason for this is simple. It's a targeted approach that can lead to more meaningful connections, which then translate to higher conversion rates compared to the broader marketing strategies. So I want you to think of it like a flyer in the mail, okay? It's such a fucking broad audience that 98% of those flyers get tossed in the recycling. But if you take your flyer and hand it to your target market, so let's say you're a local hockey team. You're the biggest game in town and you want people to come watch your game. So if you mail out flyers to everyone, again, 98% are getting tossed in the recycling bin. You're trying to hit just the people who love sports. And guess what? There's a lot of people who don't like sports. A lot of people who don't like hockey.
Whoa. Quit talking foolish.
So you've printed like 5,000 flyers, but let's say you ask a local sports bar, can I hand these flyers out as people leave the bar? That's a micro influencer. They're going to get to talk to the patrons.
A much more significant impact.
Oh, exactly. And so now translate that to an actual real micro influencer. Instead of handing them out at the bar, maybe you get the kid on social media who has 5,000 followers who only talks about hockey. Get him to talk about your team, right?
Boom.
The next thing is authenticity and trust. Those are huge. And I talk about this all the time. And this one is my favorite because it adds that humanizing factor. You mentioned it earlier, and I love to talk about it. But the authenticity that a micro influencer brings to the table is huge. So, like, let's go back to the mega influencer where they got millions of followers. They don't have a connection with their following. Yes, they got the people following them, but they don't talk to them. The Rock doesn't know who I am. I follow him.
Fuck you, Dwayne Johnson. You should know who Darryl is.
Well, that's the thing. He's just doesn't return my calls.
Such a macro.
I know. I'm going to rickroll him.
But he got me, man.
But you have this neuroscientist in Montreal who has a following of 5,000 people. And when I comment on her stuff, she comments back.
It's very specific. It's very engaging. It's all the shit that we preach about. In every
The
podcast.
trust factor is there, right? They can comment, they can talk, they can share. They'll share their followers' content, which is great. And the authenticity can translate into higher levels of trust between the influencer and their audience. So when you, the small business, aligns with those types of micro influencers, they genuinely appreciate the product or service that they're actually promoting, right? How many times have we seen that with like celebrities where you see they do a product, and I'm going to bring up, I have to because I think it's ridiculous, is Jason Bateman from Smartless. And they've made fun of this on Smartless. He does the Hyundai commercials and he drives the Hyundai and he laughs and they make fun of him on Smartless. They're like, oh, you got your Hyundai? Because he doesn't drive a fucking Hyundai. It's like, so how can you trust that commercial?
Yeah, for sure. It's all about the money.
Yeah. So it can foster a sense of trust, and that's invaluable in the world of marketing. I fucking talk about it so much. The last thing I want to talk about, micro influencers, and this brings you into the mix of financials, is that it is so cost effective, or at least it can be. When you decide you're going to collaborate with a micro influencer, because micro influencers have a smaller audience, typically they charge less for their collaborations, right? If I ask The Rock to do something, I'm going to have to pay him $1 million. But if I ask somebody else who has that small following, I'm probably not going to pay that much. And there are no set rates. I couldn't even give you an example. This is a negotiation of what you can afford and what they're willing to do for that dollar amount. And sometimes the stars don't align and you just don't see it eye to eye. They think they're worth more. You definitely can't afford that. So you have to walk away and find somebody else.
Just move on. There's plenty of fish in the sea.
Oh my God, no kidding. Sign a prenup before you go into it, but
Awa, I'm so glad you were listening.
But with this lower cost, it allows your business to harness the power of the influencer.
We've shared clients. I mean, we can't discuss client information, but we've shared clients that have gone through this where they use micro-influencers to as a kind of a stepping stone to grow their audience and even to grow their
Exactly.
culture, right? Like think
Yeah.
of the Starbucks and the Lululemons of this world. Like they're proud to be using these
Yep.
brands and to be part of this culture, right? So
Yeah.
that micro-influencer to me is a big part of that equation is that sense of belonging and people wanting to be part of something and want to be part of a community or have, similar goals. It's the whole humanizing thing. It just
Oh,
it could be so powerful. It takes effort. It takes effort, man. I've observed that many times over. It takes effort, but it doesn't have to cost a ton of money and it could be very, very fruitful.
well, and that's the thing. If you're not breaking the bank, that really allows you to reallocate funds to other aspects of your marketing strategy or your business. So you don't have to put all your eggs in one basket as far as marketing goes.
Well, like I said earlier, it's a lot of work though. So you may not break the bank, but you might break your back.
Hey, that's it. We'll be right back.
Listen, year after year, we tell you the same old story. So this year, let's keep it simple. Get your together.
It's simple. Hashtag call René, certified financial planner of St. Cyr and Associates.
So I want to hit the reset button here. Not on
Okay.
our podcast. Not on our podcast.
I was going to say, fuck, it wasn't that bad. Maybe that prenup is going to come in handy after all.
I never want to give you up. Let's talk about a vacation, though.
What's a vacation, man? I used to press that reset button religiously until this
Yeah.
stupid pandemic hit. And it's like,
No
fuck
kidding.
me, man. I'm stuck
Yeah.
at ground zero now and I just can't get out.
Exactly. Well, recently I had a friend go away on vacation to kind of recharge the batteries, and they're literally sitting in paradise. And I'm jealous over here, but they are enjoying it.
Don't be jealous.
But with the hectic life that they've got, they got away for a couple days to get away from like the hustle and bustle of everything. And so it got me thinking because they landed, they were like, okay, I don't want to go exploring. And they felt bad about it. They're literally sitting in paradise and they're like, well, I really don't, I'm just so tired. I'm so drained. I'm so emotionally and mentally drained that I don't want to take that energy and go out and explore and see the sights. I was texting with them and I was like, that's okay. You're sitting in fucking paradise. Like, if you want to recharge your batteries and hit that reset button, if that's your vacation is sitting on a beach watching the waves crash, then do it. And so that's kind of what I wanted to talk to you about today is where is your reset button vacation? Because it's different for everyone.
I've got my opinions on this. It's two
Let's
things.
bring it. Do we need to sign a prenup before we get into this?
Workaholics like you and me, it's tough.
Yeah, it is.
But I'll tell you what, that reset button is necessary in my opinion.
Oh, no kidding.
For people that have a really hard time disconnecting, it takes a couple of days. And I
Yep,
think that that's normal,
Always. Yeah.
right? So if you can afford, like I'm talking not just monetary, but if you can afford the time to go
Mhm.
away for 10 or 14 days instead of, a 4-day trip
7,
or a
yeah.
7-day trip, do it. Because I always find it takes me a couple of days to allow myself to say, it's okay to not be busy,
Exactly.
right? Because you're like, oh my God, I'm here or I'm there. And I'm like, I'm in Paris. I want to go see friggin' Eiffel Tower. I want to do this. I
Yeah.
want to see this. Oh, there's this little coffee shop I saw on Pinterest or I saw on fucking
Yeah.
Instagram or whatever.
Exactly.
The other thing is social media. We are so goddamn connected
Ah,
with
we
fucking
have
social
to take a
media.
picture.
It's like we have to keep up with the Joneses. We have to show
Yeah.
everyone how good our lives are and how
I know.
amazing everything is. Here's my thought. I'm going to give you my thought on my reset button. First of all, you didn't give me any heads up on this. So
I
I'm
know, I'm
glad that
sorry.
this is a total improv. Is I want to be in a place that some of my favorite fucking vacations has been like backwoods of friggin' Mexico, for example,
Yeah.
where your cell phone barely works and you have to
Yeah.
sit in the front lobby because your internet doesn't even work in your room.
Exactly.
So you check in with your emails, you check in with your family, make sure nobody's dead, make sure no one's in the hospital, and you just kind of check in once every couple
Yeah.
of days for that half hour you're having coffee in the morning, and then you put that phone in the safe so no one steals it
Yes.
from you,
Yes.
and then you forget about it. And after a couple of days of allowing yourself to not have this busy life and have to
Mhm.
see everything and explore and have selfies in front of every possible important thing that you can see on your trip,
Exactly.
that's when you reset, man. And that's
Yeah.
when the shit gets real. And that's when
And
you're pinching yourself saying, my fucking life is so good right now.
oh,
That's the feeling we need to go after way more often than we allow ourselves to let our hair down.
100%. You couldn't have said it better. The whole Instagram thing of we have to take the greatest pictures while we're on vacation. We got to do some selfies. We got to do little videos. We need a TikTok. You actually ruin the experience for yourself by doing it 99% of the time.
No kidding.
You're going to
And
remember
I mean,
it.
we're all guilty of it. I'm not going to
Oh,
come here on a
100%.
podcast that we're not monetizing to tell you guys how you should live your life. I mean,
Exactly.
we're all guilty of this shit.
Yes.
Right. But when I realized, like, there's been times where I'm like, why am I on my phone right now? Like,
I know.
I'm in heaven. Why
Yeah.
am I? You put your phone away and you have a
You could
great
actually see it.
cocktail
Yeah.
and you smell the salt water from the ocean and you watch the sunset. And you can hear the waves crashing. It's like,
Oh,
oh my God. Like, I wish I could live here.
I know. There's a couple places. Actually, my wife and I, we actually researched one of the spots that I would love to go to. I still have never been. We actually researched that possibly, this is going back like when my kids were real young, about moving to Norway. And it was the whole
Nice.
minimalistic style with their culture and their tranquility. And it was just like everything about that country was just so great. And so the best way I can put it is it was so
You said Norway. Aaron said no way.
no, Aaron was on board. I ended up kiboshing the whole thing.
Sometimes you just got to take the leap.
Well, that's the thing. It's like, I was working in hockey at the time and there was some opportunities there, and Aaron being a teacher, it seemed to all line up, but there's a lot of things to think about before you move to a country. But that still is on my bucket list of like my reset button vacations where I want to land, I want to put my phone away, and I want to explore the country. The other place for me is Bali. And I've
Really,
known
eh?
I know a few people who have went there, and there's retreats where you can literally disconnect from the world. I know it'll sound funny to some people, but there's the whole soul searching, whether it's yoga or meditation or self-care, discovering nature, surfing, art, writing, whatever your jam is. You do it while disconnecting from the world. Like, I would love to go somewhere like Bali where it's just so beautiful. The weather is so perfect. Everyone there is for the exact same reason. They're not there to party like at these retreats. They're not there to, be on their phones. They're all there for the same reason, just to disconnect, just to hit the reset button. So that's my big bucket list. So
One of my favorite vacations I've ever had was in St. Lucia. And
oh, nice.
I think a big reason was the size of it. And it was so secluded, right? Like, it's a tiny little
Size
island.
doesn't matter. That's what I've been told.
Yeah, size does matter. So you got a nice small little island. You get to chill because you got nowhere to go, man. Like,
Yeah.
did a little bit of deep sea fishing, parked my ass on the beach a lot, had some really amazing food and mingle with the locals.
No
And your
kidding.
phone never worked anywhere. So
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
like, this is awesome, man. This is like the best ever. And you know what? Honestly, Darryl, it doesn't, like, we're not preaching to like ultra wealthy people here, because
No.
you can spend $50,000 on a 10-day trip if you
Oh,
want.
no kidding.
But you can get away on a very cheap trip and
Yeah.
have the very same experience.
Exactly.
They might not make swans out of your towels when you go to bed at night, but as long as you have potable water and you have, decent
Exactly.
food, because for me personally, only because I love food is a big part of that experience for me. But
Mhm.
when you get to like disconnect, that reset button you're talking about, when you get to kind of socialize with a different culture and you
Oh,
get to
no
mingle
kidding.
with the locals and you put away that whole Instagram, Facebook, having to be on social media every 2 minutes,
Yeah.
checking the weather, checking what the stocks are doing, what the
Exactly.
stock markets are doing that day, checking your
Yeah.
emails. You're on Google for whatever reason, right?
Exactly.
We've become a culture of instant gratification with information.
Oh,
You're like,
no kidding.
oh, yeah, I like that shirt. Where's that come from? So when you put that stupid phone away
Yeah.
and you get to disconnect from work and finding the right place that allows you to find your zen, might sound a bit cliche, but that place really does exist and you should go after it more often than we do. We all fall into that same trap.
The funny thing that I find when people come back from vacation is that you can tell what kind of vacation they had by the restaurants they visited. And if you ask, where did you hear about that restaurant? If they say, oh, I was reading reviews on Google.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no,
Exactly.
ask the fucking taxi driver.
Yep.
Ask the front desk clerk, where's the best meal?
Or the bartender at your resort.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some of the best food experiences I've had were from like the bartender or the server or whoever you end up getting some sort of connection with at your resort. Next thing you know, you're having dinner with their family.
I know, exactly.
Those are moments that are not only memorable and that we cherish, but those are some of those reset buttons you're talking about, man.
If you ask the locals where the best food is, you're going to get the absolute best food. If you ask Google where the best food is, you're going to get where every tourist goes and eats.
Yeah, no kidding.
I think it's due to age. I think our idea of a relaxing vacation changes as we age. Like, I used to think if I traveled somewhere, I needed to get my money's worth and explore and see everything, have an itinerary. You know, with so much on there, there was really no downtime. You come back to the hotel at the end of the night and you're just exhausted. You have a great sleep. You get up and you do it all over again. Now, I'm all about enjoying it.
No, I've never had that.
Well, it's all about the sightseeing, right? It's that whole Instagram, get the picture wherever the big sites are. And now I'm all about enjoying it, whether that's one location or a few. Like, taking time to savor the moment and the space and the time is the most important thing to me.
But being the devil's advocate, though, Darryl, and you know this, and I think you'll agree, is that we don't have to go to the Caribbean to press that reset button, because there's so many places even in Canada. So if money's an issue, or if you don't like to fly, or some people don't like to leave the country, like how many times have you and the kids come up north? We're sitting at the lake where, you know, the kids are sitting on the edge of the dock or catching bass and they're swimming.
Exactly.
You know, you're not part of that hustle and bustle of the city life, and like just the cry when they leave.
It's
right. Exactly. How many times did Peyton, when she was younger, like cry because she's leaving? She just doesn't want to live paradise.
Exactly.
It's just because she found a way to reset her buttons there in good old Kirkland Lake in the middle of summer with just a slower pace.
It's cheaper than St. Lucia, and you still don't get cell service. So it's perfect.
Yeah, that's right. We're all sitting around different areas like, are you Rogers? Are you Bell? trying to get enough bars to call 911 because our kid's drowning. Yeah, that's so true. Oh my God. Maybe that's the key right there. Your reset button must be in a no cell service area.
That's right. Yeah.
So sometimes it doesn't have to be that far from home, and it doesn't have to cost you an arm and a leg.
So listen, if you're going to hit the reset button, do it. Ditch the phone if you can. I say that, but the only valid reason I think to have a phone is to rickroll the shit out of you from now on.
Oh my God. Yeah. Never going to give you up, buddy. I'm never going to let you down. I'm never going to run around and desert you.
But
I might make you cry.
But I am going to say goodbye.
Never going to tell a lie and hurt you. Jesus Christ. We really need a prenup, bud.
We'll see you guys next time. Thanks for joining us.
Love you guys. Take care.
Bye.